Hi guys, Sammy here again. This is another FTWVLOGS, but this time it's about something different. It is about... Yes people, I am doing a review-ish, kind of point-ish thing about Guardians of the Galaxy. So guys, I saw Guardians of the Galaxy with my brother, who is a very big Marvel fan of the films, the comics, everything Marvel he just loves. And he knew about Guardians of the Galaxy, as he's read the comics, I think he read them, or he just knows mostly everything about it. And I wanted to go with somebody who knew about it, because then they would also give me points, up top of my points, about the film. And he gave me a lot of points that I wouldn't have necessarily picked myself, so some of these are his points as well. As a big fan, he kind of wanted to add something into it. So, this is 5 likes and 5 dislikes of Guardians of the Galaxy. So, just a bit of insight into the storyline. Guardians of the Galaxy is about these 5 main-ish characters, and it's about how they come together to form the Guardians of the Galaxy. In short, that's what it's about. So, starting off with the likes. Number 1 is the casting of the film. The casting, most of all, is very good, especially for the main characters. I think were quite good, except for one, which will come on into the dislikes. So it follows Peter Quill, who is also, outlaw name is Star-Lord, and he is played by Chris Pratt. Now, Chris Pratt, I know, had to hunk up so much of the film, and I mean, he is gorgeous. But his character, he portrayed him amazingly. You know, he had the sass, he had the comedy in it perfectly, the way he carried himself, the way he thought of himself, everything he did that was meant to be Peter Quill, I felt he did for Peter Quill. And although you kind of know mostly everything with Peter Quill by the film, because it drops more things to do with Peter Quill than the other characters, you kind of also want to know more, which is always a good thing for a new viewer like me, wanting to know more about the characters because you research them and buy the comics and blah 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 blah. The other casting I also think they did very well for was Rocket and Gamora. Rocket is played by Bradley Cooper, and I thought Bradley Cooper as a cartoon, well, voicing a cartoon, I didn't know how that was going to work, but Benedict Cumberbatch's Smaug, I think that was really, really good. He did it really, really well for somebody who does a voice of, you know, a character. And I mean, Rocket is absolutely amazing. You end up loving Rocket by the end. He, you know, you never thought you could love a raccoon as much as you love Rocket, but by the end of the film, you end up loving him so much. Gamora is played by Zoe Saldana, who is also in Star Trek. And she plays her amazingly. She plays this kind of, you know, very attractive alien, if that makes any sense. And, you know, the way she carries herself with some sort of royalty and respect, but she also has this dark side about her because she is made to be a warrior. She was made as a warrior, which is what I got from the film and what I asked and what I kind of know. I don't want to spoil it for you, so you have to go watch the film. Even Vin Diesel's portrayal of the Groot, I thought was amazing. Groot is he's such a perfect character. If I had to be any character out of all of them, I'd be Groot, because he's so heartwarmingly kind all the time, and he's always wanted to protect Rocket, and it's just amazing how something you didn't think would be that way is that way. And you'll see when you watch the film, and your heart sort of warms to Groot. But by the end, you know, I don't want to spoil it, but stuff happens, and yeah. Point number 2, the storyline is actually amazing. For somebody who didn't know about Guardians of the Galaxy, I thought the whole way it was written, the whole way it was portrayed by every character, the whole way sub-characters were portrayed, the whole way all the subplots for it were put in absolutely perfectly. And I thought, yeah, you know, for a first-time Guardians of the Galaxy film, this storyline is absolutely brilliant. They held it together throughout the whole film, from the beginning to the end. You never felt bored, you never felt too rushed, you never felt it was too slow. It moved at a perfect pace. They got it spot on. Number 3, the whole comical aspect of Guardians of the Galaxy shines through throughout beginning to end. It is very funny, you know, the sass in it, the little things they say to each other, the actions they do, the metaphors that run throughout all of it. It's great, and the way the characters play comedy off of each other, you can't help but laugh. Some of the things I'm nearly crying at because it was so funny, but it's also very tragic, the film, and it does make you well up a bit. You do feel the feels when you watch it, and yeah, I thought it was just amazingly funny, and I don't think they could have done anything more to make it as good as it was. Number 4 and 5, kind of linking together. These are my brother's points as somebody who knows about the franchise. So number 4 was, they made Guardians of the Galaxy for the adults of the franchise. If they made it for the kids, then I don't think it would be as gritty and as amazing as it was. There's a lot of adult themes that run through it. There's also a lot of swearing. And although it is only a 12A in the UK, which isn't that very age restricting, but it kind of is, I feel like if they made it for kids, they made it as they would make Spider-Man, Iron Man, Thor, the big ones, it wouldn't be as funny and it wouldn't be as comical, and the storyline would just be a bit less as it was. And I'm so happy that they didn't do that. Another point of my brother's, they made this film for the fans. This film wasn't, although it is part of the franchise and, you know, it fits in with other comics, you know, it's just, this film was made not to please the general public. It was there to please the fans. Marvel had to release it. The fans wanted this, and the fans got it. And I think for somebody who is now a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, they did absolutely brilliantly. And I think if they had made it for kids, it wouldn't be the amazing thing, the amazing end product that it is. And I think that's an amazing achievement for Marvel. So, going on to the 5 dislikes. Number 1 is Drax the Destroyer. For those of you who don't know, I felt like he is one of the main 5, and he really wasn't brought out as one of the main 5 in the film. I mean, most of the characters were all introduced at the beginning, and he was kind of like middle or halfway through, and you kind of were just like, who's this guy on the scene? And I just thought it was a bit, his character wasn't portrayed to how I think it should have been. And also, it's played by Batista, and I think they got the look of Drax the Destroyer amazingly, but Batista's acting is so dry. I mean, he's a WWE wrestler. He's not Gary Oldman, do you know what I mean? He's not meant to be a Hollywood actor because he really can't act. I mean, if he got a bit more acting lessons, I think he would have played that character so much enthusiastically, but the character just came along as, I am Drax, I want to kill Ronan, and it's just no. I mean, they all kind of want to kill Ronan, that's the whole point of the film, but yeah, he could have been played so much more well by somebody else who has just as a greater body as Batista does. So yeah, that's one dislike, number 1. Number 2 is borrowing of characters. So number 1 was my brother's point, he didn't really like Drax. But number 2 is my point. It's about borrowing of characters. Zoe Saldana, as you know, is in Star Trek, and she plays Gamora. And then Nebula is played by Karen Gillan, who plays Amy Pond in Doctor Who. Now, as much as I adore the characters, they're kind of like forced adopted sisters. I like the storyline there. And they both, don't get me wrong, played them amazingly. You would never think Karen Gillan was Nebula unless you kind of knew I looked at her and I was like, I kind of know those teeth, and I kind of get hints of her voice, and I was like, yeah, that's Karen Gillan. But yeah, I don't like the idea of borrowing from different sci-fis. You wouldn't just take Anakin Skywalker out of Star Wars and then make him be Spock. It's just not. I mean, it's different for somebody like Khan, who's played by Benedict, and then he also plays Smaug, but he is a dragon, and they're both kind of big important people in both of their franchises or whatever. Yeah, although Nebula isn't that important, she's kind of a sub-character, but they're not doubting on the actors' abilities, they played them both very well. I just don't like the borrowing of the character. Number 3 dislike. It is the villains of the film. So the villains of the film are Ronan and Thanos, and what we find out. Yeah, Ronan, he's kind of this guy who just goes around killing loads of people because he can, and Thanos kind of controls him, and then Ronan goes a bit out of control. And what I know from what I've been told, Thanos is a running throughout the whole Marvel franchise villain, and I feel like if he was meant to be in the film, they should have given him more airtime, because you really didn't feel that. You just felt like, who's this big guy in a chair, for somebody who doesn't know that much about the story. And yeah, he should have just been given more airtime, because then you would be like, oh, he's like the main villain controlling everything, he's done this, he's done that, and I mean, he has done evil things and it is mentioned, but is kind of, his limelight is taken over by Ronan a bit. And he's kind of one of these people, he's a bit like Augustus Magnuson from Sherlock. He's one of these villains that you just hate, because he's just shit. He's just a shit person. Unlike somebody like Moriarty or Loki, you actually quite like them. You think they're sassy. You're like, yeah, I like this villain. You like them just as much as you like the main heroines, if you could say that. But yeah, Ronan's just a bit, I'm gonna kill everybody and get this gem, blah 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 blah. And I just thought, yeah, he was played well, but Ronan could have been made space for Thanos. My brother agrees with me. Thanos should have been given more airtime. He wasn't given enough. Number 4 is going to be really quick because I don't want to spoil anything, but the end cred scene, the post cred scene, everybody knows that Marvel does post cred scenes. Everybody's got to stay, and when people leave the cinema, I'm like, no, come back, because there's going to be another scene at the end. But, we all look forward to it because it always hints at other movies, but this one just didn't. I mean, it was funny, but it was a bit disappointing. Usually, after Captain America, there was the whole Bucky thing. Spoiler alert for nobody who's seen Captain America. But yeah, this one was it was funny but pointless. It didn't really link onto anything, I felt. And number 5 is a dislike, but it's also a like. It's kind of muddled up, so I'm just going to explain this a bit. You want to know more about all the other characters because they are such main characters in it, because it's about them. And it follows Peter Quill more than anything. You know the most about Peter Quill by the end of it. But, Gamora could have a whole film of her own. I'd gladly watch a whole film about Gamora and her upbringing, how she became a warrior, what happened to her, how she got sold into Thanos, what happened with her dad. That could be a whole film of her own. If they could make a Captain America film and a Thor one, two of the most, no offence, for a bit dead characters. But, they're good, but it's a bit like Iron Man 3. It wasn't really needed, Iron Man 3, but it was. Even Rocket, I could gladly watch a film about Rocket and Groot and how Rocket became how he was and how he met Groot. And you kind of just really crave and to want to know more of their characters. Even bloody Batista's character, you want to know more about him. And, Drax, he wasn't that focused on, as I've said. And it hurts because you're like, oh, I really want to know, and they're not going to tell us. And you won't find out unless they actually do movies about the other characters, which is quite sad. But what can you do, really? It's how the film was made. It's how the writers and stuff wanted you to perceive the film. So if I had to give Guardians of the Galaxy a rating out of 5, I'd give it a 4.5 purely because it is a great film, but some things could have been changed a bit. Everyone's a critic. Spoiler alert, there will be another Guardians of the Galaxy film. Anyway, people, thank you so much for watching the very long video. Very tiresome, I know. But I much appreciate your views. If you could like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. And I'm going to leave Twitter, Tumblr, WattPad, IG, Instagram, by the way, all down there for you to have a look at. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!